Hey everyone, welcome to the Hornet King channel, and in this video, I'll be removing a bald-faced hornet nest that resembles the look of a unicorn. This was a great sized nest for this time of year and had hundreds of adults inside of it. So I tore this nest down and vacuumed up the adults for the client and took it home and fed it to my animals. Here's the video, check it out. I'm the Hornet King, and I removed some incredible and insane wasp nests. So this nest was down in Wilmington, Delaware, which is about 50 minutes south from where I live. It's not very common to find nests this well established this early in the season, but this one was, and obviously it was trying to resemble a unicorn with its big horn in the front, which is something I've never actually seen before. So, well, like I always say, that nests aren't always built one way or never built another way. They pretty much kind of build however they want to from colony to colony. So this one decided to put the unicorn on the front of its nest. So I could tell already that there were a ton of adults inside of this thing. I mean, this was a very, very productive nest and had been unhindered. It was able to find a lot of materials, obviously able to find a lot of food, and this colony was just exploding. So I knew I had to be kind of careful when I started to remove this nest. And mainly just because once you start vacuuming everybody up, you just don't know how the colony is going to react. And in this case, they were just pouring out of every single nook and cranny from this nest. Like there was just no holds barred. They were just trying to tear me up. So you'll notice once I start vacuuming them off, look a little bit up and to the left of where the hole is. You'll start seeing them just pouring out from between the envelope layers. So not necessarily is there an entranceway there, but that was clearly an exit for them. They were able to get out of the inside of the nest through that layer, and you can see them flying right here, mainly flying out of that spot. So there was really no chance of me like vacuuming everybody up all at one time and not missing anyone. They were going to be swarming around me, so I kind of just accepted that first thing in the beginning of this removal. So unfortunately, this vacuum really does have a downside. It's cool you can see in the canister. It's great that it's a backpack vacuum that I can climb up ladders and things, and I don't have to worry about stringing cords everywhere. But man, the suction is just terrible compared to my shop vac. So you can see really close up here just how much they're just pouring out of every little nook and cranny of this nest. Now, I've mentioned this before in many other videos, but when bald-faced hornets swarm, they literally fly out of the entranceway, or in this case, wherever they're kind of like nestled in within the nest, and they fly out, they swarm the target, they attack, they sting, they bite, they do whatever they want to do, and then they fly back to the nest. So that's why you're seeing ones going back to the nozzle. And they'll do that process over and over again. When they swarm, it's not just, I'll swarm once and then I'm going back home. They leave the nest, they swarm, and they go back to the nest, and then leave the nest again, swarm, go back to the nest. And they'll just do that over and over and over again until the threat is either removed from the location or attack response has subsided. Either way, they don't just do one thing. They don't just swarm and then leave the nest altogether. Like some people will assume that once they start swarming is that they'll like leave and start another colony somewhere else. That's just not how it works. So they'll swarm around and then they'll go back to the nest. And that's why I keep the vacuum nozzle right at the entranceway, because more than likely they're going to go back to the entranceway. They're not going to just go back to one part of the nest or what have you. They're going to go into the nest and double check to make sure everything's inside is okay, and then they'll swarm again. So I try to leave the nozzle like within like an inch of the entranceway, so that way I can catch them mid-flight as they're flying back in. Wasps have hooked feet, so when they land on the nest, it is so difficult to just vacuum them off of the envelope without tearing the envelope all apart. Well, with this vacuum, I really can't just vacuum them all because it's just not strong enough. But when I use my shop vac, it'll just tear the nest all apart if I put the nozzle within like a half a centimeter in distance from the paper. So now I'll start like kind of breaking the nest apart. I tried to use in the vacuum. You can see here it's hardly having any luck of actually ripping the nest apart. So what I had to do was just grab my hand and just start ripping the envelope. So the envelope is the paper that surrounds the comb. So a nest structure is envelope on the outside, and it's usually multiple layers. Rip the horn off, look at that. It's usually multiple layers of envelope, and then you see the comb underneath, and there'll be multiple layers of comb. So most of the time, the nests that are built on the sides of buildings, they build faster than the nests that are built inside of like trees, like on branches and things. Because you think about it, when a colony has to build a nest, if they're building it on a tree branch, they have to surround the entire comb with envelope. But when they build a nest on the side of a building, that's like half of the material that they have to use because the building acts as a part of the nest then. So it's pretty smart, and it's pretty interesting that when colonies use that they actually become the bigger nests when they're not hanging off a tree. And you can see there's a ton of larvae and things inside of that, so that nest will not go to waste since I didn't use any pesticides or anything on it. So this is the inside of the vacuum. Look at how many like hundreds of wasps are inside that canister. I mean, that's just a lot of wasps. I wanted to count this to see how many were in there, but unfortunately I had to go to my next removal, so it wouldn't be a very fair count. So this is turning the vacuum on. You can see how they all kind of swirl around inside there. I have to do this every now and then because they will crawl out of the hose if I don't. There's about a, I don't know, like a silver dollar sized hole that in diameter that goes all the way through where that hose is, so they can easily get out of there. So I just want to show you guys what that looked like when that thing's spinning. I mean, they're just going on a merry-go-round ride and swirling around inside the canister. And this is them very displeased with being spun around. So they will die inside that vacuum. What is your problem? Here, eat that. Eat it. And then feeding the nests to the girls. They just, man, they just absolutely love bald-faced hornet nests. So instead of just like letting them have at it, I actually was holding the nest in place, and that way they could peck it and get everything out of it. Well, people say, why do you tweeze nests? Why don't you just let the chickens peck them out? Well, first of all, I let the chickens peck out hundreds of nests. Like, I don't tweeze every single nest that I have. That's a common misconception. But just to show you how not accurate the chickens are as far as like pecking out larvae, they don't just like reach in and like precisely peck out a single larva, not damaging anything. I mean, they just like grab whatever they can and they just rip. They just like twist their heads around like a velociraptor and just rip as much of the paper and everything else that they can. So, and they're squishing tons of larvae. I mean, it's messy. And when they do that, you'll see like guts of larvae like splattering everywhere. So this is why I like to tweeze sometimes, because then nothing goes to waste. These nests don't go to waste at all. You know, it is recycling when I'm giving them to the chickens, and you know, a lot of it's not going to waste. But when it comes to just like smashing the larvae because they're trying to peck them out of these little tiny holes, yeah, they're wasting some of them. So. Your tail's in the way of the camera. Oh, I'm sorry. It is.
Guys are splattering juices all over the place. Tail feathers are getting in the way again.
Alright everyone, thank you so much for tuning in to check out this video. If you guys enjoyed this content, drop in the comments, let me know what you think. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and checking out my videos and supporting my channel, and I'll catch you on the next video.